currently have their children attending the schools. Before we turn to the panel, I wanted to just give the way this format will work is I'm just going to give a high level overview of why the governor's office is looking at the issue with governor schools and what the process will look like the next few months. And then I'll ask each of the panel members to just introduce themselves and tell the audience who they are. After that, I have about 3 or 4 questions that I'll ask the panel. And then we'll look through the chat box and pick questions to put in front of the panelists. So my name is Atif Qarni. I'm the Secretary of Education for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Again, thank you for all the panelists who are on today, taking time to be with us today, and thanks for everyone who has joined us this evening. We really appreciate your attention to this specific issue. And I hope that the school year is well underway. I know we're going through a very challenging time with COVID, and I know the vast majority of the students are doing learning virtually. That poses a significant challenge. So I hope that things are going well for you and your children. In the Northam administration, the last 3 years, our biggest focus is to really look at all the inequities in education and address them head on. We've put a significant focus on making sure that we address our structural issues in early childhood. So we've focused a lot in making sure that we're consolidating a lot of our functions and strengthening our early childhood system so we can provide more quality early childhood education to our most vulnerable 3 and 4-year-olds. In the K-12 space, we've implemented a new standard of accreditation as we're transitioning from a high-stakes testing culture to a culture more focused on deeper learning, more project-based learning, making sure that our students are communicating with each other, collaborating better, really utilizing their creative and critical thinking skills, and really paying attention and being a better community-minded citizen. In addition to that, we have really restructured a lot of our resources to focus on our most vulnerable populations in the K-12 space. We paid a lot of attention to things like basic needs and improving our school nutrition programs. We've also implemented social emotional learning standards and doing a lot of professional development to really focus on social emotional learning supports, which are even more important now that a lot of our students are working in isolation virtually as we're dealing with COVID. And we have an ongoing effort to really improve in teaching a more holistic, more complete history. Our African American History Education Commission has come up with some robust recommendations that are starting to get implemented and will be implemented in the next year. And then in the higher ed space, we're focusing a lot on basic needs. We've piloted with our HBCUs and our community college system, very robust, first of its type in the nation program to address basic needs like food insecurities, childcare insecurities, housing insecurities, and so forth. The reason I say all this is that addressing these inequities is very important to us. And as I did an analysis thoroughly the last year of how our school gifted programs are structured, we found that they're really fragmented. There's a lot of inconsistencies on how students are identified for gifted programs. There are significant issues across the Commonwealth. That doesn't mean that things are not working well in some schools versus others. There are some good strategies being applied, but overall as a state, we have to really address that. That's why the Board of Education is looking at our gifted regulations. They've opened it up. In the next 2 months, they'll be making a lot of improvements to our gifted regulations. An extension of that work is obviously our gifted programs and our 19 governor schools. We have 4 full-time governor schools, 15 part-time governor schools. Last year, we started to look at our governor schools and the demographics of the governor school and how that compares to the region they serve. and looking at the data that led us to pay specific attention to our most well-established, the two largest full-time governor schools of Mackey Walker and TJ, but we're looking at all the 19 governor schools. So the General Assembly last year and the governor uh, uh, in the budget bill put in a mandate to require all the 19 governor schools to start developing diversity goals and really engaging their community partners in developing these diversity goals. And that's why you're hearing about with your, whether it's your local school board members or your principal or your superintendent. That's why they're having these conversations and doing these hearings and so forth the last few months. Our office is closely monitoring to see what all the 19 governor schools are doing, and in the next few months, they will send me the reports and we'll review them. I'll review them with the governor as well. So, what the local conversations are occurring. We're going to be looking at those reports. I also, in order to guide and shape my work, am conducting a lot of research with my team. We're consulting a lot of national experts and experts in Virginia who work with gifted programs or talking to a lot of gifted coordinators. I convened a work group made up of General Assembly members, some students and parents, and some superintendents and directors of governor schools to also think through what what their perspectives are as far as addressing diversity issues, making the process to get into our governor schools more equitable, make the environment more inclusive. They have all varying perspectives. There is disagreement on many nuances of how things should be done. And then also to guide our work, I'm doing three sessions. So last week I did a session with students from TJ and Maggie Walker. Again, we picked students from TJ and Maggie Walker because that's where a lot of our data led us, and we really want to get an idea on what's happening. And the students were amazing. They offered some amazing insight. I asked them some questions that were on my mind to kind of think through what are students thinking. Obviously, we're doing this panel with the parents today, and then on Thursday we're going to do a panel session with alumni of the two schools. So having said that, if each of the panelists can just go down and say who they are, and then